Very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our third session of the SAARC Talk Series 2024. Welcome, Mr. Samten Yeshi, who is our esteemed speaker for today's session, and he is going to speak on the relationship between culture and nature, a Bhutanese perspective. I'm honored to be a part of this academic discourse. Our relationship with nature is an important aspect of our lives, and understanding how cultures influence this relationship is crucial in today's world. Before we proceed with the lecture, I invite the director, SAARC Cultural Center, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, madam.
Good afternoon, Mr. Samten Yeshi, distinguished guest. It gives me immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the third session of our monthly virtual talk series on cultural heritage and cultural diversity in the SAARC region. As the director of the SAARC Cultural Center, I am honored to see the growing interest and participation in this vital initiative. Today's session holds particular significance as we delve into the intricate relationship between culture and nature through the lens of Bhutanese perspective. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Samten Yeshi, brings with him a wealth of knowledge and insight as a researcher at the Van Manen Project, Leiden University, Netherlands. His expertise promises to shed light on this captivating subject, offering us a deeper understanding of how culture intervenes with the natural world, particularly with the unique context of Bhutan. In a world that is increasingly interconnected yet divided, it is imperative that we embrace platforms such as this talk series to celebrate the diversity of cultures that thrive within the SAARC region. Our aim is to acknowledge these rich traditions and to foster a genuine appreciation for the beauty and significance they hold. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Samten Yeshi for graciously agreeing to share his expertise and valuable time with us today. Your contribution to this discourse is truly invaluable, and we eagerly anticipate the insights you will share. To all our participants, I invite you to actively engage in today's session. Your thoughts, actions, and perspectives are important to the success of this session. Once again, welcome to the third session of our talk series. May it be an enlightening and enriching experience for us all.
Thank you, madam. Before we start with the lecture, I will briefly introduce our speaker, Mr. Samten Yeshi. Mr. Yeshi has a strong background in cultural heritage policy, research, and management with academic enthusiasm in Buddhist Himalayan culture and history. He started his career as a bilinguist journalist with Bhutan's national newspaper in 2006, followed by several years of working with civil society organizations in Bhutan as a researcher, manager, and administrator implanting cultural and social projects. Currently, Mr. Yeshi is pursuing his PhD within the European Research Council project at Leiden University, the Netherlands. He is working on the Van Manen collection within a project titled Locating Literatures, Lived Religion and Lives in the Himalaya Van Manen collection, exploring his research project on Tibetan Buddhist ritual of deceiving death. This afternoon, he is going to speak on the relationship between culture and nature, a Bhutanese perspective, Over to you, Mr. Yeshi.
So, so this is the proposed title, the relationship between culture and nature, a Buddhist perspective. So, which is more of my personal, ordinary, perspective of a student of culture. So, as you already know, so I am from Bhutan, a small, tiny kingdom, a landlocked country between China and India, and and I'm sure most of you already know that Bhutan is known for its richness in culture and also the wealth of natural environment with robust biodiversity within the limited territory. So I give you this wonderful map by WWF, which actually gives an overview of the richness that I am talking about, the cultural and the natural richness of Bhutan, which is, I mean, as you can see on the map prepared by I think WWF. So you can see as much as the country is dotted with cultural sites, you can see as many green coverage as well as lots of animals spread across the country. So that's the kind of a general idea or the general picture of the country's wealth in culture and nature that I wanted to give you. But still, I would not go further to give you facts and figures, since it is a click away on your internet or mobile internet. So if there's anyone who's interested in facts and figures, so I would suggest uh, uh, consulting Google, which knows everything more than any one of us. So this is generally to give you an idea of how Bhutan is culturally and environmentally quite wealthy and healthy. So therefore, as you can, if you visit Bhutan, uh, you'd actually see even the urban towns like capital Thimphu covered by lush green vegetation, as much as you can see the lush green vegetation across the rural countries of the Bhutan. So that actually tells you how much the Bhutan is you know uh, wealthy and healthy in its natural environment, which is what to say, I think, uh, which is how Bhutan is known outside of the country and across the world as the country of say GNH and environment or the carbon sink and so on and so forth. So, but what is behind the success of Bhutan's natural environment? So this is, I think, the question that I think most of us probably don't ask. And is it the robust legal framework protecting it, or environmental friendly leadership that we have, or is it the hardworking scientific communities that is behind this healthy and wealthy natural environment across the country? So as you can see in the picture, is it those people in green dresses, or is it the other people around them, or is it the small stupa and the prayer flags are any indications of something else, right? So this is something what I thought I will try to discuss about in this talk, although with limited knowledge and experience, but to give you some through my own personal experiences. So what impacts our environment and the nature is directly dependent on human behavior. This is what I think, and the human behavior in the sense, I think, the way of our living, which I think is culture. So I think I mean, every one of us agree that we humans are at the core of everything. So we humans are the machine that produce all lot of cultures through our way of living, which then impacts the environment around us. And as much as good culture that we produce, I think uh, impacts it positively around us, and as much as our production of culture through our behaviors are poorer, or say in other words dirtier, then the impact that we have around our environment is certainly not positive. So therefore, I think the human is the core to the all of the problems, as we all, every one of us across the globe, I think, agree on it. But then we are still not really recognizing what is actually, being what to say, what is actually the basis for all the goods and bads that happen around us. It is, although, I mean, we do actually know culture is something, I mean, the way of living is something that is actually impacting everything around us. But then I think we still lack in identifying this culture as the, core or in key element that is impacting the environment and the surrounding around us. So, for example, in my village, so I come from a village called Ura in the central Bumtang district, and the village here is my village in Ura. So if you, I mean, every morning, so every household in the villages would actually burn uh, pine branches and juniper branches to actually make a incense offering every morning. So it is in the belief of, propitiating or offering incense to the uh, spirits, which is believed to be, living in and around the, settlements, so spirits such as celestial, heavenly beings, which we call it La, and Lu, which is, I think, in Sanskrit, Naga, or the serpents, and then Tins, which are the rock deities, and Du, which are the forest ghost deities. So all these sort of things that we believe in. So therefore, so we make the locals make this, incense offering to appease those deities that are believed to be also living within the, human realm. I mean, and side by side within on the universe, among the human realm. So at the same time, even in the evening, so there's this culture of making a smell offering, so which is called suri in our, local language, and it is again with the belief that there's also other ordinary, spirits that live among the, human settlements, who has to feed on, smell, so who can only survive on smells, such as the hungry ghosts and all kind of that. And also the household members would actually fetch a fresh morning water to make the water offering on their altar rooms, to as an offering to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, as well as the other, deities that the families worship or associate with. And then also, if you have visited Bhutan, you would definitely have, seen or came across, lots of rituals, religious rituals going on in households, one or the other. So almost on the daily basis, one or the other household would have a ritual going on with, musics and recitations, monks sitting, and then lots of, Bali, or the what we call torma cakes, being, displayed on the altar room, and then doing all sort of things. And then all of these are mainly because of this belief system, the belief in this, a world or the another, realm on the same universe, such as the, spirit realms that I have already mentioned about, right? So these are kind of the traditional, say, native, culture that the Bhutan have, which is still, practiced. And so this is a map, Google map, as you can see, of my village. And so I'm going to, present this what to say, map, just to give you an idea how these cultures actually contribute to the what to say, environmental conservation or the protection, or how did this actually the living, or what to say, the strongly actually contributes to the wealth of environmental or natural environment. So, for instance, if you look at this, green circled locations, so these are some of the locations I know which are, believed to be the believed to be resided by local or territorial deities. So, for instance, this one is known as Nepui Boom, which is a forest of territorial deity of Xingyer. So, this is the Xingyer village. So above them, above the village is this thick, dense forest, which is believed to be resided by the territorial deity of Xingyer and its retinue. So which is somehow, to put it in a very simple terms, it is believed or respected like another neighborhood of our spirits that we cannot see, right? And so with that belief, I think these villagers would not even cut down a branch from a tree from this forest, and therefore this forest is very dense and very, I think, healthy, never disturbed at all. So the locals would not disturb, as well as locals would not allow anyone to actually disturb that forest at all because of this belief. And this is a small, patch of, as you can see, small patch of forest here. It's a small hill. There's a small hill here between these two villages called, Pankar and Sumtrang here. And as you can see, there's this, the forest actually is expanding, left and right. Just, I think it is because of the protection, or that this, small patch of forest is being accorded by the local, villagers, because this is again, believed to be the territorial, or the forest resided by a ghost deity called Gangjung Dut. So this the name of this place is called Gangjung, and Gangjung Dut means a kind of a forest ghost deity, and it is believed to be resided by this spirit. And at the same time, it is also a cultural, site here. So there is a historical, cultural site, ruin site, historical ruin site of a 14th, 15th century saint associated to one of the families in this village. So therefore, there's this cultural and spiritual association to this site. So therefore, the forest is not also disturbed here, although there's not much of the trees or usable for timber and as such, but there are definitely trees that are usable for fires and all these things. So, but then the locals, for instance, it is surrounded by two villages, left and right, and then none of these villages would actually disturb this forest at all. And here in this green circle, within this green circle, there is a it is actually a rock mountain. It's a huge cliff. It's the northern part of this valley actually, and there is a this area is full of watershed actually, for where the drinking waters come from for this villages below, and it is known as the it is believed to be resided by a rock deity called Sumchang Daksen. So it's a rock deity which resides there. So therefore, nobody actually even thinks of disturbing this rock mountain. For instance, if it is somewhere else, I'm sure because it has, for instance, even below that rock mountain, there is also a forest and also a easy stone deposit where in the peripheral areas there are signs of locals attempting to actually access those easily available rock deposits within there, but then they are not going beyond the border areas, border lines of this area. So again, it is mainly because of their respect and belief of this area as a territory of this Sumchang Daksen, the rock deity. So, and another thing is here at the south of this valley, there is Dutang Nebo. It is also a territorial deity of the village of Ura. So therefore, this forest, and there's also another small water body, a lake, and all of these are not disturbed just because of this cultural beliefs system that the locals continue to embrace. So this is generally the This is actually the what is it reason why Bhutan have a huge, forest coverage, which we have actually 71% of forest coverage as of now, and according to the figures, I think 51% of it is under protected area. So again, it is mainly because of their respect and belief of this area as a territory of this Sumtang Daksen, the rock deity. So, and another thing is here at the south of this valley, there is Duthang Nebo. It is also a territorial deity of the village of Ura. So therefore, this forest, and there's also another small water body, a lake, and all of these are not disturbed just because of this cultural beliefs system that the locals continue to embrace. So this is generally the what to say. This is actually the what to say reason why Bhutan have a huge forest coverage, which we have actually 71% of forest coverage as of now, and according to the figures, I think 51% of it is under protected area. So if it was not this cultural belief systems, or if it wasn't of the Bhutanese population not embracing those ancestral cultures, so I don't think Bhutan would have this. Bhutan would enjoy this robust biodiversity and the healthy healthy wealth of this environmental natural environment. So this is why I wanted to show this map. And at the same time, if you travel across the country, there are lots of this kind of forests, rocks, and water bodies, and all kind of culture and spiritual sites which locals actually embrace and protect it voluntarily without having to have a legal framework at all. For instance, now you would be wondering why this area is still forested, just because there is no presence of such belief of spirits residing in this part of the forest. But in this part of the forest, I mean, there are lots of loggings and timber extractions going on actually. So as you can see, for instance, in this area, it is really thin because there are lots of so every year, for instance, the local firewood are being extracted from here. So around this area, there are lots of private lands who are actually extracting their timbers, grown-up timbers, for commercial purposes. And then every time when there is a demand for timber, so government would actually give from these areas, and from these areas, not even the local people do not actually even put up a request from these areas at all, because they respect and then they regard this as something special and not to be disturbed at all. So this is why I think the culture plays a vital role in environmental conservation. So, but then how long will that actually last, and will this embracing of ancestral culture continue or not? So I think it may not, because we are in the time of globalization. So so everything is globalized. For instance, so as globalization actually sweeps across the world, the native traditional culture is being pressurized, and the space for embracing this traditional native culture is being minimized. For instance, the natives are becoming minority across the world, right? And then the traditional cultures, values, I mean, of the traditional cultures are being minimized as well. So no, I mean, there are people who do not who would actually dismiss traditional cultures as something something unimportant or invaluable. I mean, not valuable. So I mean, the globalization is actually eradicating those traditional values, traditional cultures, and our world leaders, I think, are not even attempting to understand these traditional values and the native people and their knowledge at all. So, for instance, I recently came across that what to say, the Maasai tribe in Tanzania. I mean, they are being faced with eviction from their land because the government want to introduce luxury tourism and hunting. I mean, kind of want to promote that as a hunting place for tourism, right? And for instance, again, the Amazon rainforest, I think, is a well-known case, I think, as well. So because the local tribes of the Amazon rainforest are being a minority, the world's consumerist and capitalist culture, the community of capitalist and consumerist culture is actually working towards extracting everything that the rainforests have. So that's why I think rainforest is also threatened, just because of this globalization, where we put every world have almost same kind of approach to their approach to our life, and living, because everything is about GDP or trade and industry, or socio-economic development, and even the media and culture all almost becoming so homogeneous, right? So we still talk about diversity, but then in many ways, so everything that we do across the globe is almost homogeneous. Almost, I mean, everything is almost similar to each other. Because if other country wants to be a nuclear power, another one wants to become the same. See, if another one wants to become an economic power, other wants to become the same. So if everyone, I mean, when everyone wants to, increase their GDP index, I think all the rest of the countries want to also do the same. So we are chasing the same dream as everyone is, right? So in that sense, I think the diversity there's not really a diversity as we would have had in some a few hundred years ago. For instance, traditional native cultures are very distinct from each other, although for instance, although there's this similarity of worshipping spirits and forests or rocks and some all those things, but then the knowledge and the expressions, the practice, the way they embrace the culture are quite distinct and quite diverse, right? But at the moment, because of the globalization, I think this diversity is almost becoming non-existent, or almost getting minimized, declined, degenerated, and the natives are becoming a minority, and therefore I think we are losing the traditional culture that actually forms the basis of sustainable universe, is, I think, becoming a minority in the time of this globalization. So I would like to quote what Buddha has once said, where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of real peace. And our world, I think, as we would all agree, is being run by ignorance. Ignorance and the fire of desire. So therefore our world is run by egocentricity, materialism, and anthropocentricity, right? So we are actually full of the humans ourselves are full of we are full of ourselves, actually. So here I say, for instance, our ego is using ignorance to actually make a fire of egocentricity, materialism, and anthropocentricity, which is actually burning the universe. Which would probably end up quite sooner than that we expect, right? So once egocentricity is, I mean, for us, we humans are everything about ourselves. So our ego, I mean, when we have our ego, I think everything else is secondary. So, for instance, look at this picture. So it just shows how our ego works. For instance, someone would have taken quite many ages to actually build those this town in somewhere in, I think, in Ukraine, I guess. So I took this picture from internet. But then when the ego rages, you don't care about who and what, right? So you can just destroy it, just with no care or no regard to anything else, because it is just about you, right? So therefore, I think the world is currently being run with egocentricity, with full of ego, as an individuals, as communities, or as countries and world leaders. And we know no limit to our wants. So that's where, how materialistic we are. So for example, so why do we have traffic situations, especially in the South Asian countries, right? So we would actually want a car. So what we would say is it has become a necessity because we had to travel, right? And then we buy a car, and then we want a bigger car, and then it is not enough because, again, we need to have a car for myself, for my wife, and my children's, right? And then we end up having almost more than 2 or 3 cars in front of our doors. And then the result is we end up in the frustration of traffic. So at the same time, if you look at our closets, I think we have more than the clothes more than what we actually wear. As I took this picture from internet, so I have nothing to wear, and then yet gazing at so many clothes in the closet, right? So that's the kind of approach, or the culture, the global culture. It's a materialistic, materialistic, culture or consumerist culture that the globalized world is embracing, right? So we humans are, full of ourselves. For instance, at the same time, how humans, perceive, habitat or earth is, we call, natural resources. We don't even call earth or habitat or something else, right? We call it resources. So for us, everything that is, habitable, or say anything that is around us, is in nature is a resources that is supposed to be used used for human development, right? And anything that the rest of the inhabitants, except the humans, are food or utility, right? We use animals for all sort of things for our own good, or we eat them as well. So we are full of ourselves. So we don't forget about regarding another neighborhood of spirits. We don't even regard physically present other inhabitants besides humans. And at the same time, again, to forget about that, so how humans are full of ourselves is that we sometimes are not even accommodative of our neighbors, right? So that's why we have lots of we have lots of enemies or wars or fights and all of these things, just because we are full of ourselves. We are not accommodative. We are not really willing to share, right? So these are I think what what I heard of some local thinkers actually talk about how egocentricity, materialism, and anthropocentricity is actually raging the world from unsustainable, impetuous, usage of all the resources or habitable, spaces that we are left with, right? So for instance, this picture I found it sometime on Facebook, and I put it on my mobile phone, and but I couldn't actually retrace from where I got it. So this actually tells a lot of things about how we are, how this global culture, fueled by ignorance and run by egocentricity and materialism, consumerism, and anthropocentricity. So we are destroying everything or consuming everything so impassionately that we want to really get rid of ourselves. but we don't really know we are getting poorer. So as this actually says, we lost the diamond in search of a gold, right? So it certainly says, I mean, as Buddha has said, where ignorance is our master, there is no possibility of real peace. I think we are actually ignorant that we think we are rich or in peace because we have so many things like metropolitan cities, skyscrapers, uh, you know aeroplanes and all sort of things. So we are actually now 21st century. We are in the 21st century, which is actually full of opportunities where innovations and technologies are actually getting advanced more than ever. Right. So if you ask some of the locals in my village, uh, of their knowledge or of their view on whether the world will end or not, so the local elders would actually tell you a story or give you tell you with an ultimatum that at one point, just because of the power of greed and desire, at one point they will say there will be 9 suns that will shine at a time, which will burn the earth into ashes and end the world, right? And I think this term, the metaphoric term of 9 suns shining at a time, or the doomsday, I think is another way of expressing global warming or environmental degradation that will end the universe at one point. So I will try to again put these things in a kind of a graphic presentation that I thought is a little interesting. It may not have much of substance though, but something interesting. So for instance, when we started our early human evolution, I think we have plenty. I mean, we have 100% of environmental natural wealth. So in abundance, right? So we lived, but then our ego and our materialistic culture and our consumerist culture were very, very low. So I think we are quite content when the human evolution actually started. So as we went on, I think with idea of development coming in, and then industrial revolutions and all of these things, so our culture also changed. The way of living actually changed, and the fundamentals of our culture actually also which are more of egocentricity and materialism and anthropocentricity, which is in more or less an ignorance, did actually also increase, kept on increasing. So as this increased and the culture, the way of living changed, I think the period of social and environmental degradation actually also expanded and then is expanding, right? So this is, I think, the current trend of change that we are living at the moment. High environmental impact, poorly sustainable, and I think the 21st century is in the crossroads, whether we want to, change this or not. We are actually talking about the change, right? We are talking about reducing emissions and, and trying to reduce the temperature rise and all these things. But but then will that again, be able to change the actual change, which is the environmental degradation? Just reducing the temperature rise may probably, stop global warming, but will that still change the environmental degradation other than global warming? For instance, lots of deforestation, lots of mining, destroying lots of rock mountains, and forest coverage, waters, and all this thing. So is that enough, right? So as much as we are looking materially for our growth with this global culture of egocentricity, materialism, consumerism, and anthropocentricity, we are also looking that much materially for change. As I said, we want to reduce. We are trying to reduce industrial emission, but we are not talking about changing our way of living at all, which is, I think, the key and fundamental to the the changes around us, whether it be good or bad, right? But at the moment, I think it is impacting badly because we are talking about global warming and climate change, and it's all because of human behavior, right? Which is culture again, the way of living. So, aren't we actually trying to look everything outside of ourselves? So when are we going to look at ourselves and then change ourselves to actually change things outside of us, right? So I mean, as I near towards the end of my simple talk, so I have more questions actually than the answers. So are we turning blind eye to the role of culture in the good and bad that our communities face? Is there anyone doing something about our global culture? Are we even aware of how we live and its impact on the global scale? Right? For instance, if I think about my country, so the civil societies working on culture is almost non-existent. Or even if there is, you hardly find funding support to do things that you want to do. The cultural preservation. I mean, actually discerning the culture, to actually also classify or say, study the culture, which is good and bad, and to actually implement or promote those cultures which are relevant for environmental conservation, sustainable development, and to sustain this, habitat that we have, the earth, right? So, for so in the similar case, I think if you think about your countries, how many civil societies do you have in your countries that is working on culture, or how many agencies do you have that who thinks culture is important, and I mean who thinks the emphasis on culture as a change, as an agent of change to actually change all the things that is happening around us. So probably I mean none, right? So at least in my country, I don't see that at least. So when I was working in a foundation called Leiden Foundation, so all of these ideas grew up when I was working in Leiden Foundation with a social thinker of our, in Bhutan called Dr. Karma. So I've been working with him, and this what I've been presenting is all from the knowledge that I've accumulated from working with him and his thinking and his thoughts, actually. So I'm almost, reflecting or echoing things that he had been talking about. So I will end with this, last slide, a quote by Shantideva. He's a Indian, Buddhist philosopher. So he said, with the rope of mindfulness, if the elephant mind is tamed, all the calamities specified, good shall prevail. So this is a rough translation from, Tibetan phrase that was there in one of his works. So which means I think it is time for world to actually look at our ideologies, critically analyze our thinking, thoughts, ideas, and ideologies that actually produce, or that is, man thing that, shapes our behavior, which produces, all the cultures, like the global, culture. For instance, if our ideology, I mean, the way of living that the world is embracing at the moment is mainly because we are not critically analyzing our ideologies. We are thinking of technological advancement, innovations and all these things, but we are not really analyzing how, this is going to, impact our behavior, our way of living, which will actually have an immense, impact on the environment around us, which is already, happening in the form of global warming and climate change, right? So thank you so much, and I hope I made some sense.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samten Yeshi. And now it's time for comments or any questions from our participants. If they have any question, In that case, I was just wondering, Mr. Yeshi, that you were talking about how culturally people protect a part of the forest, because they believe in the existence of forest deities, So, do you think this belief system is being like transmitted to the new generation in the same way, or you think that it has been reduced? How
So
the new generation is taking it?
at the moment, I think the passing of this culture from generation to generation is still going on at the moment. But again, as uh, as I said, due to the globalization, so people's perception towards the world is
Exactly.
changing, view is changing. So that would actually also impact the way they will see to this kind of practices. But
Yeah.
at least for now, this actually still remains strong.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you very much. As you have rightly pointed out, Mr. Yeshi, that science, it does contribute to our understanding of nature through innovations, but the conservation of nature, it depends a lot on the people and their behavior. Yep. And then and people's lifestyle, how it is shaped by the cultural aspect, it has the spiritual and religious aspects that they are born into. In what kind of environment they are born, they learn from that. So these ways of living alone are the, as you have mentioned, they are the key factors and the change, in the way they look at things and the way they perceive their surroundings. So environmental conservation efforts, which backed by scientific evidence, must therefore recognize this relationship, that is the very important relationship of culture and nature, how it shapes human thinking. So, because it offers an option to enhance the impact of efforts in environmental conservation and biodiversity protection. Um, I would like to thank this moment. I want to thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Yeshi, once again for joining us this afternoon, despite his tight schedule, and sharing his insights and knowledge on a very important and on a very pertinent issue. I also thank all the participants for joining us and making this lecture engaging and informative. Uh, and please kindly follow our SAARC Cultural Center Facebook. And also, we have a Twitter account for all the upcoming events. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want to say thank you, Mr. Samten Yeshi. Thank you. Actually, it is very interesting lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.